Yes, we can. Culturally responsive pedagogy in socially just 21st century schools. Throughout our nation, there is an imperative in public schools. That imperative calls for change, change that will make the difference in the lives of all children who go to public schools in the United States of America. Change that looks at eradicating the achievement gap among children of color in comparison to their age-appropriate peers across other racial groups. Looking at the power of a teacher and how teachers have the ability to make successful change, to make all finally mean all in public education. Examining the state of the gap, looking at changing teacher behavior and student behavior, and embracing the dimensions of culture that each child brings to the classroom from a strength perspective rather than a deficit perspective. And once teachers have that information, we can look at the dimensions of culture and the culturally responsive pedagogy that makes the difference in developing students to do and be their best in an educational context. And that's done through developing scholars and embracing families in culturally appropriate and respectful ways. And all of this leads to co-responsibility. Change is the first area. Over the last 4 years, our nation has seen change in a way that many thought impossible. The election of Barack Obama as President of the United States of America is something that many said was impossible, but he has demonstrated the power of one and the fact that yes, we can, especially if we work collaboratively. If we think about the power and the importance of teachers, of families, of children, working for change and hope, or quite frankly, having the audacity to hope, I'd like to share an example through the eyes of a 4-year-old. My grandson was very, very agitated on the night of Barack Obama's election because for almost 2 years, as a toddler, he was real clear that he wanted Barack Obama to win the presidency. But on the night of the election, it changed. In tears, he said he wanted the other candidate to win. And when asked why he changed his mind, he said, I wanted to be the first black president of the United States. We now live in a country where the audacity for change and hope can say to that 4-year-old that no longer do you have to strive for being the first African American in any category, that the foundation has been laid and you are important in every aspect of public education. But do many teachers understand that audacity to hope? Do they understand that that child, that 4-year-old African American male child, is truly worthy of the best that we can offer as it relates to our educational delivery? In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And in 2008, our then President-elect Barack Obama said, the fight for social justice and economic justice begins in the classroom. So why is it important for us to go into the classroom? The National Staff Development Council has set aside specific standards that look at the context, the processes, and the content of what we do in public education. Added to that context, especially when we talk about culturally responsive pedagogy, we must imagine the possibilities for children who may have been historically marginalized from the importance of an adequate and a stellar education, especially in a social just society. So how do we assist teachers in incorporating the dreams of all children, examining the future of all children, and teachers themselves looking at the legacy that they leave within the context of every classroom? The state of Wisconsin has a dynamic vision for 21st century public schools. In comparison to other states, it is amazing the initiatives as it relates to policies and procedures and as well as it relates to instruction that they are taking on. Their Quality Educator Initiative, started in the year 2000, looks at what they call their PI 34 system standards. Those system standards talk about what's needed for teacher education, for teacher development, and as well for pupil services. They're examining systematically how we create learning experiences for children, looking at how children learn and how we adapt the instruction to how children learn, so that we have a variety of instructional strategies so that teachers throughout the state of Wisconsin can utilize those strategies and be data-driven to talk about the effectiveness of those strategies, especially across the diversity of the state of Wisconsin. It examines the motivation and the behavior in learning environments. It looks at communication and how teachers and educators, as well as their principals and administrators, plan instruction and examine assessment as a result of that instruction. The program is deeply steeped in what is called reflective practice, and it talks about and upholds the challenges of fostering relationships, especially as it relates to family engagement throughout the state of Wisconsin. So as Wisconsin looks at teacher development from the preparation stage to the initial education stage, as well as teachers developing to a professional educator stage, to the possibility of also becoming master educators, one of the things that needs to be examined is what to do with the gap. Throughout this nation, many states are in denial about what it means to have an achievement gap when we think about or examine different cultural groups. Are they just acknowledging there is a gap? Is the goal to just narrow the gap? Is the goal to close the gap? Or is the goal to eradicate the gap? One of the exciting things about the state of Wisconsin's initiative is the fact that their goal is to eradicate achievement gaps between African American children and European American children, between Asian American children and Latino American children, embracing fully the respect that's necessary to educate appropriately Native American children as well as Arab American children, and really the diversity of the United States of America.